for business people.
We're live.
We are. And the reason I'm a little blank right now, Alex, is because this feels like deja vu.
Yeah.
Alex has gotten a little older and I've gotten a little younger. But we were here over a year ago at this very spot. I can see your footprint right there.
And surprisingly, we were talking about exactly what we're going to talk about today. And we're talking about payments, Ayush.
And no, we haven't run out of content. It becomes very significant today because the whole payments landscape, Alex, has changed overnight.
Dramatically, not just overnight, significantly overnight.
last time we
but
came.
since the last time, it's changed dramatically. Various features have been introduced, but particularly over the past few days, we've been talking about one major change, and that's the introduction of the payment service on WhatsApp.
That's true. I mean, just think about it. Over 200 million plus active users in India for WhatsApp. And you know, you've thought about sharing a photo, those funny office groups. Now the game changes altogether because you can now send money to anyone on WhatsApp. We spoke about this digital push. We've jumped onto trains, jumped off auto rickshaws, spoken to a lot of people about it. And back then they said no, cash is king. Then it suddenly became post-demonetization, Paytm. Paytm has been, well, the most popular payments term for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
But now it's set to change.
And I also remember that around that time, around last year, around this time, was when we were talking about UPI being introduced for the first time, and we were one of the first people to use it and try it out. And that's gotten much faster, much better.
And UPI, for all of you watching, well, is the Unified Payments Interface that the NPCI came out with, which is essentially IMPS 2.0. It's supposed to change the way that you can make digital transactions and payments in this country, and every bank, every, well, interesting startup, everyone is basically trying to integrate with UPI to make payments easy. That means if I have an ICICI bank account and he's on Kotak, it doesn't matter. We're not going to IMPS, RTGS, NEFT. I have a VPA, an ID. He has a VPA as an ID.
Which is the virtual payment address.
I click on it, enter my PIN, the money is in his account.
Well, exactly. And, you know, the reason we're doing a show like this is to essentially set the context about what we're seeing in the payment space in India, and also to provide an opportunity. We've read up a little, so we know a little bit about what we're talking about. And also, if you have any questions that we cannot answer, we make sure that we have all of those answers over the course of the next couple of hours or so. But we want to start this show by asking a few people over here. And there are a lot of young people over here who I'm going to speak to. Guys, we're live, okay? But I want to ask you, you guys all use WhatsApp?
Yes.
Have you guys heard about the WhatsApp payment service?
Yeah, I heard today about it.
Are you using it?
No, I just saw one screenshot. One of my friend has put the screenshot that there is one update of WhatsApp which is talking about something payments.
Yeah.
I just heard about it.
So tell me something, you guys use Paytm?
Yeah.
You use Paytm? She's apparently the techno-savvy girl. But you know, what do you think about the idea of having, you've been using WhatsApp for a long time now. What do you think about the idea of having a payment service on WhatsApp? I mean, so far you've been using it to forward stuff, to talk to people, maybe even video chat. What do you think about the idea of maybe...
I think it's good because most of the youngsters use it, and that is why I think WhatsApp will be a good tool for payment.
What happens, it's very difficult to use a bank app. There are so many errors. So I think WhatsApp Paytm is very useful for our parents also. So for me, it's like it's easy for them to transfer money to me. So WhatsApp will be an easy tool for them.
So this is the tech-savvy girl talking. I want your opinions on this as well. She seems to be...
What will happen is you won't have to switch between apps. So you have opened WhatsApp, you can do 10 things on WhatsApp. So one of them that has been...
Do you use WhatsApp for payments?
No.
Okay,
Yes, and none of them have.
You're the only one who does.
No, I just
You want to. Okay, so since we're talking about what you guys have heard about, you're on college? You're on college? Okay, which college are you guys from?
We're doing masters in journalism and communication.
Oh, lovely.
Interesting.
So this is their practical training assignment, guys. This is a live show, so we all have to be at our best behavior. But since you guys have heard of WhatsApp Pay or payments, right? Paytm, of course, everyone's heard of.
Yes.
What about Google Pays?
Yeah, I have heard of it.
Yeah.
He's heard about it.
Have you used it?
Yeah, I have installed it, but I haven't used it as such.
Okay. So, and if you guys, out of these, I mean, based on how you use Paytm or Google products or WhatsApp, what would be the most convenient for you to actually pay for your ice creams or whatever, kulfis or whatever you guys are having right now?
At this point.
At this point in time.
WhatsApp, obviously.
WhatsApp?
Yeah.
It's everyone in for WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
Thanks so much, guys. You guys were live and enjoying and study hard.
Hey,
Okay.
so the point being, look, one very interesting point there, the fact that when you're on WhatsApp, you don't have to switch around too much because you're using it so much. You can use the same application to pay, is what the gentleman over there said.
So we spoke to the young ones. Now we can also speak to a few people here. Hi aunties, we are live. We just want to ask a very quick question. Does आप लोग क्या जब पेमेंट्स के लिए कैश यूज करते हैं या कुछ डिजिटल में पेटीएम यूज करते हैं कोई भी? पेटीएम नहीं. नहीं, पर आपने कभी पेटीएम यूज किया है? नहीं.
मोबाइल फोन यूज करते हैं. मोबाइल फोन क्योंकि आप मोबाइल फोन यूज मोबाइल नहीं है, नहीं चाहिए और रखना भी नहीं चाहिए ना.
तो आंटी जब घर वाले आप मतलब आपसे संपर्क करना चाहते हैं तो कैसे आपको?
लैंडलाइन टू लैंडलाइन.
No mobile
There you
phone.
have it.
No SIM card.
You shouldn't use a mobile phone, right?
आपका है?
हाँ. ना यूज करत ना. Okay. धन्यवाद मौसी. Well, that's it. So I mean, I kind of expected that, Ayush.
I didn't know, but I'll tell you something. If you go back to the last time we did this show over here, we started off with a really old gentleman, and he was happy to really adopt new payment methods. He was very curious about it. So in India, you find all sorts of people.
No. Ayush, I want to introduce you to my grandmother, who has just been given my mum's old smartphone,
Yeah.
and she's now on WhatsApp. So
That's what I'm saying. So there's all sorts of people,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
there are people who are wary of the technology. There are young people who stay away altogether. You know, there are people we try to contact for shows who say only landline and email because Big Brother's watching. So there are
Yeah.
people who have privacy concerns, and these are things we've raised about all of these particular platforms.
But having said that, we've spoken to a couple of people here.
Yeah.
Let's go and essentially put things in context now, Ayush, because and just
I know what you're hinting at. So whenever Alex wants to school me and the rest of us, he sometimes says, why should it always be in words? We should actually go back to school with it, and that's how Alex likes to explain. And he also shows off that he has a really calligraphy sort of handwriting, and that's what you like to really talk about.
Absolutely. In fact, but before we go to that, there's one comment that's coming in that says that it's good because, and this is Sumit Bhaskar. Thanks for tuning in, Sumit. He says it's good because I don't need to be on multiple apps, as we personally and professionally most of the time use this medium for communication. That's a
Interesting
fair
point. But I'll tell you something. Mr. Alex Matthew, well, he's got his sketch pens out, and of course, voila, we're back at Shivaji Park with a whiteboard. The people out here think we're very strange that we keep coming here with a whiteboard,
Yeah.
but that's the best way to understand, because we spoke to a lot of people, and a lot of them don't know about these. Everyone knows about Paytm when they have to, or post demonetization when they had to use it. No, well, WhatsApp everyone uses as a chat messaging service,
primarily so far.
and they're very happy to and curious to perhaps try what Alex and I have been doing for the past few days.
So what I'm essentially going to do is the debate that's been raging, and we'll get to that in just a short while. But just to put things in a very systematic manner,
Yeah.
point form, just to put things in context.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the red pen because you like to correct people so much, and I'm going to take this. All right. So what I'm going to
come on your side though.
Okay. I'm going to put down. You have Paytm. You have WhatsApp.
Right. So,
And
you know,
what's the third one we're talking?
Google Days. Now, Google Days obviously has been there for a few months. It's got some interesting functionalities which we'll list out there to see whether that's something that really floats your boat. Paytm's been there for the longest time. Post demonetization, we saw the number of accounts opened on Paytm go up. We've been covering that on Bloomberg for the longest time. WhatsApp is something that, well, I think the NPCI, all of us as tech geeks and everyone in the journalist community were waiting for to see whether this can be the right push, the fillip needed to really, popularize digital transactions in India, Alex.
Yes, essentially. So essentially what we're talking about is all three of them use the UPI platform.
Yes.
That's the first thing that you have to establish. They all use the UPI platform.
Which should mean interoperability when it comes to different banks. And we explain how UPI works. We will perhaps try to give you a live demo as soon as possible. There's a lot of coverage on Bloomberg went about it as well. But what it means is that we don't need a Venmo here in India. All we have to do is Alex and I can use a myriad apps out there and transfer money from my bank account in a bank A to his bank account in an account B. in a bank B, but we are using the conduit, the same pipe, which is UPI. It doesn't matter which app is on our front end, the back end is UPI.
Yeah, and now the primary difference between the three is the nature of the entities that they are. The first one, of course, is Paytm, and Paytm is now a payments bank. It wasn't when we spoke last. So I'm going to put that down here. Payments bank.
So back then, Alex, they used to say, upgrade to VIP Paytm customer.
Correct.
You know, you get your eKYC done.
And we were talking about the possibility of increasing the amount of money that you could store on your Paytm account.
Up to 1 lakh, right?
Now, what's WhatsApp? WhatsApp essentially has been a chat function and a chat application, but you can now make payments.
And let's be honest, perhaps the most popular, by numbers, the most popular chat app in India. We know in all over Asia there's Line, KakaoTalk. In China there's WeChat. There's Telegram for Russia as well. But when it comes to India, when we're talking about this digital push, 200 million plus active users, and well, and that's the last time they checked. I think Hike is another popular local application, a messenger application, but which has investment from Tencent as well. But the last time they checked, I think it had 120 million. WhatsApp is of course owned by Facebook, which is of course owned by Mark Zuckerberg.
Absolutely, and we're talking about the last one, which is Google, and Google Pay is essentially a payments application. But you know, it's not a mobile wallet, it's different in that sense. It's essentially facilitating payments using the UPI infrastructure. So I'm going to put payments app. Struggling with this.
And Google Pay has its own standalone app on iOS and on Android. WhatsApp, well, you've all used it, I don't need to tell you, but of course it has its own chat app which you use to chat. And Paytm has its own Paytm app, which has an inbox facility, which has, well, a e-commerce facility, which also has a wallet facility, right, Alex?
Yes, which is exactly what I was writing.
Right.
So deposits. That's the primary difference between the three of them.
Right.
While Paytm can take deposits, these two are not.
Now, when you do go on to Paytm, well, they have several ways of authenticating yourselves through OTP. On iOS, I know I use my fingerprint authentication, but Paytm, well, needs that login. And then you can use all those features that I just mentioned. When it comes to Google Pay, again, Alex, you do need your Gmail login and the first time around at least.
Yeah, the first time around, and then you have a login PIN that you have to enter to get into the Google Pay
for
account.
The Google app per se,
yes.
Not the UPI PIN, which is a separate story. Only for the Google Pay app, you need a separate PIN. That's your Google PIN. That's what they call it. You can easily amend that and modify that within the app. But WhatsApp, which has sort of changed this whole perspective for Alex and me since, well, Friday. WhatsApp has rolled out its beta version, and it's perhaps the most fluid, the most seamless, and the most amazing integration with UPI that we've seen till now.
And we'll get to that because there were a lot of contentions, allegations made by the Paytm founder. We'll get to that in just a minute. Brijesh Mulchandani is written in, and you've essentially taken the words from my mouth, and that's exactly what we were going to write. One of the primary differences between Paytm and WhatsApp as of now is the fact that Paytm can use the QR infrastructure.
That's true. Very true. And absolutely, and that's something that a lot of people, especially if you go on Twitter and obviously on Facebook.
Google Pay can use it as well.
A lot. Google Pay can use it as well. The QR infrastructure is very interesting. We've been speaking to vendors over here prepping for the show, and a lot of them have been relying on that Bharat QR and the QR infrastructure as well. Another thing, UPI had two features as a backbone, as a platform, push and pull. So the push was, hey, I owe Alex 100 rupees and I can push that money to him, giving you techie terms. And then I had a pull saying, Alex never pays me the money that he owes because he always takes a lot of money from me. And then if I feel a little embarrassed asking him saying, boss, can you give me the 100 rupees? I can just request that 100 rupees. That's not a message. It pops up on his screen, whichever UPI app he's using. And then if he authorizes it with his PIN, that money is directly in my bank account. I tell you again, well, bank accounts could mean Kotak to ICICI to Standard Chartered. All of them who have integrated with UPI are essentially, well, interoperable.
Yeah, and so I've written that here. You have only push in a WhatsApp.
For now. Because it's in its beta stage. Maybe from what we've been told, sometime in March or by March 31st, there'll be more clarity. But for now, it is only push. You're right.
Now, Google Pay, I was actually going through it because I hadn't used it before today.
Neither had I.
I hadn't used it before today, and we both tried it out. And the fact is that there's something very interesting. You can pay to people in your vicinity. So if there's somebody from my contacts who is in my vicinity, you can essentially switch on the application and turn on receiving and you can pay to somebody in the vicinity.
That's one. I mean, those are interesting things, but also with Google Pay, there's another interesting feature which I was, trying to figure out, which is essentially, cache mode, which allows users to pair their smartphones with these days users using audio commands. So it actually asks you on your iPhone, I'm sure on Android phones as well, in permissions to access your microphone. That's kind of interesting. And Google Pay has also been looking at, Google's been looking at using it with, small Kirana stores and the like.
But see, Kirana stores, that's exactly where we're going next, in fact, and that's the last point that I want to bring up here. With regard to these three applications at least, is the fact that this is the preferred application for a lot of Kirana stores, a lot of businesses. And that's essentially because of the legwork that Paytm has done so far.
But, having said that, when these guys get their act together and launch in full-fledged, with all their fanfare, these guys have access to a user base and have integrated in a way from what we've seen from the trailer, I don't know about the final picture, in a way which is seamless. And everyone has said it's perhaps the smoothest implementation.
Well, we'll have to see. In my opinion, and we'll get to that in just a short while, in my opinion, it's going to be a completely different use case. Whether they adapt and change from that, it might be different.
And then when it comes to Google Pays, well, it's very interesting considering, Google does have a lot of penetration and a lot of reach even in villages. They have programs running in India's villages to connect and empower people as well with technology. But let's be honest, WhatsApp doesn't need that branding or marketing. They're just there. Everyone has it. The Kirana store guy had WhatsApp. My camera person has WhatsApp. Most of you watching have WhatsApp. Alex and I do. My mother does. My grandma. A lot of people have WhatsApp anyways. As your drivers, your staff, everyone.
Absolutely. And before we go on to the other conversation that we want to have about the entire fight that took place between Vijay Shekhar Sharma and apparently Mark Zuckerberg, you haven't heard a response from him yet. But, we'll get to that in a very short while. For all of the traditionalists out there, Ayush.
Like Alex?
Well, no, I use WhatsApp like I've already demonstrated. But, we met a few people over there who don't even use their mobile phones.
Absolutely.
I want to essentially put over here what your options are apart from the ones that we've discussed so far. So I'm just quickly going to reiterate all of this.
So that's done. But I think that's been an interesting explainer for me personally, Alex, because it's important to get your thoughts out there. It's kind of confusing otherwise.
So when the primary, the payments business was dominated by banks for so long. So, and banking infrastructure has been there for so long. I'm just going to put together very, very quickly.
And while Alex writes the title, I want to make one more note out there. Remember that WhatsApp is only in its beta stage, 1. 2, iOS users have had a very different experience when it comes to how they're using WhatsApp as opposed to what the Android users believe. The Android users actually have an option, if you hit the 3-dot menu on the top, to pay to a VPA. So when you're talking about interoperability, you can actually pay to a Bheem account. You can actually pay to another payments bank account. You can look at other UPI-enabled apps and actually pay. And it has been working. There is evidence of it working. On iOS for now, it is only 2 friends who've got their WhatsApp IDs, and essentially got WhatsApp numbers, can quickly go. If you don't have a VPA, doesn't matter. Log in, put your PIN, 2-factor authentication, and you are ready to transfer money.
The reason why I want to go through this, so all of those facts are brilliant. But I want to very quickly run you through the 4 basic options that you have when you have a bank account. You can go via IMPS, you can go on NEFT, RTGS, or USSD. USSD is not really being used much. It's essentially for those people who don't have smartphones, and we talked about it at length.
So Alex, but if you can tell us the reason why you're actually putting these out over here. You want to
because
go
a lot of
red
people
as well.
wouldn't know that you actually pay a charge for these. I spoke to at least a dozen people in office today, and they were of the opinion that you don't pay a charge for an NEFT transaction.
Okay. So how much do I pay for it?
So for an NEFT transaction, and I'm talking about SBI, there are charges each bank levies, it's different. But it ranges from between 2.5 to 25 rupees. So I'm going to put that in, 2.5 to 25 rupees for transactions between 1 all the way up to 2 lakhs. Now for IMPS transactions, you have another charge, and you have a charge ranging, very small charge, but it's a charge nonetheless, for SBI is 1 to 3 for transactions up to 2 lakhs again. And finally you have RTGS, that is for your really large transactions, and those charges go from between 25 rupees all the way up to 56 rupees for SBI. And the other point that I very quickly want to mention, Ayush, is that even if you're talking about cash, a lot of people might say, you know, cash is free, but it's actually not. Because consider the amount of money that you would normally keep in your wallet. You would have to go to the ATM multiple times. So beyond the free transactions,
I think that's the
that
fourth time.
Yeah. Beyond the free transactions that you have, you pay a charge of 20 rupees.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not cheap. It's costly.
Absolutely. No, so you're saying obviously IMPS 1.0 because UPI is IMPS 2.0.
And that's free.
And
UPI
that's
is
free.
free.
That's
You can make transactions up to 1 lakh and that's free.
Right. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So that's essentially Alex telling you what the existing infrastructure was. Obviously checkbooks and all of that with this old school stuff.
I didn't want to put all of that.
We can go on with this. But Alex, you know what? Let's speak to a few people.
Yeah.
Okay. And find out what they believe. I'm going to take a few comments as well, guys. There's a lot of you guys watching. Yeah, Alex, you can cover this up.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Jwalan Raju, I'm glad that you've been tuned in throughout. You wanted to talk about security. Now, let me tell you what the experts are saying about security. Alex was talking about Vijay Shekhar Sharma on Bloomberg Quint. We had a conversation with him yesterday, and even he's concerned about the security of WhatsApp. Well, experts say that it's as secure or unsecure or insecure as any UPI-based payments app, because essentially, if you want to open something on WhatsApp, you do have a two-factor authentication, which is what the RBI and NPCI want you to have, and they're following that. But if you are really, very wary about security and these kinds of things, and you're one of those people who wants, well, an extra layer, you can also go, like other apps, on WhatsApp and enable, well, an extra pin for the app as well. Alex, this is something you showed me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people might already be using this, and you know, you want to keep your chats private. So you have a password for WhatsApp.
Yes.
That's a choice that you have.
And even if you, and it's not just WhatsApp, even Paytm for that matter, because Mr. Sharma was talking about it, well, you do have pins and OTPs, and of course you also have Touch ID on phones which have Touch ID, which works like a breeze.
Absolutely.
So you have these safety features, but let's be honest, nothing is 100% secure, nothing is 100% safe. The reason we are focusing on WhatsApp is because it's the most relevant when it comes to the news. All right. It's the reason that Vijay Shekhar Sharma was angry yesterday. It's the reason that, well, we think, considering the reach that it has and the way the techies are making it sound, that it might really change the way you and I actually make payments.
And that's essentially what I was going to get at a little earlier, and the point that I wanted to make earlier.
On the side. All right.
A lot of kids coming out of school. But the point that I wanted to make, and what I see it as at this stage, is the fact that there is a different use case at this point.
Yeah.
The fact that when I was speaking to people at mobile wallets now, they're saying perhaps they're not too perturbed. I don't know if I want to believe that or not.
Okay.
But the fact is that after demonetization, and we spoke about this, the fact that Paytm got so much, so many downloads, it was essential because you didn't have cash.
Okay.
So the peer-to-peer, as in the transactions between you and me, became that much more important, and Paytm became that much more important.
Yeah, and I think
now,
there's a number of
WhatsApp, because it's so convenient and because so many people have it, might just become more convenient for you and me to transact. But it still remains a fact that for the person to merchant, for all of these shops, and you can see Paytm over
you
here.
You have everything out there. You have card transactions, you have Paytm, and if you have MobiKwik. Well, this seems to be a shawarma stall which is fully digital, so to speak.
So because they've done so much of the legwork in that space, and also perhaps for the Swiggy or Foodpanda orders that you pay, you use Paytm or your bank account and debit card.
Yeah.
Because of that, that is the leg of the payments battle, so to speak, that they consider more important.
There's two comments, Alex. All your points are interesting. There's two comments that I must take. One's V. Sagar Sahu saying, well explained charges, thanks. So that's Alex with all his research. Brijesh Mulchandani, you are bringing us to the next leg of this video, which is to pay friends. You say you will no longer prefer Paytm as their contact numbers saved in your phone book. For vendors, Paytm seems to be easy as of now.
Yeah.
Should we go around and ask a few people?
Yeah.
There is Paytm. There's Paytm there.
Hi. So I'm Alex. He's Ayush. We work for Bloomberg Quint. We're doing a show on payments. What are the different payments options? आप कौन से payments options accept करते हैं? Obviously cash है, but online payments options कौन से हैं आपके पास? Paytm तो है.
पेटीएम है, क्रेडिट कार्ड।
आप यहाँ पे आ जाइए सर, वरना सुनेंगे क्या? सो क्रेडिट कार्ड्स भी है आपके पास, तो आपके पास कार्ड
मशीन है, एडीसी मशीन।
एक्चुअली यहाँ पे व्हाट्सएप पेमेंट्स इंट्रोड्यूस किए हैं, क्या आपने इसके बारे में सुना है?
नहीं, अभी तक नहीं सुना है।
Okay, so he's not heard about WhatsApp payments yet.
So
but
आपके पास वो पेटीएम का वो बारकोड या कुछ है?
Sorry.
We'll come this side.
We'll come this
We shouldn't. तो ये है, okay.
Okay.
So he does. तो ये आपको एक सवाल करना है सर कि ये आपने जब नवंबर 8 को 2016 में जब नोटबंदी की मतलब जब घोषणा हुई थी उसके बाद किया है या पहले? उसके बाद में किया। तो ये फिर आपने फिर मर्चेंट अकाउंट बनाया पेटीएम के साथ. So this is his general store. It seems to be very popular. There's a lot of people coming, and it was reduced to this post demonetization. Alex and I did this show last year, right over there. It was this. This was revolutionary because this Paytm code was getting you through tolls, getting you through cinema tickets, getting you all of this lovely stuff at general stores. But now it has changed.
It has changed. There are so many offers out there. So many. That's the leg. That's what I'm saying. I was speaking to one of the analysts also of the payment space. Thank you, sir. And he says that the next leg of the payments battle is essentially going to be on the payment, on the person to merchant space.
Okay.
Which of these applications will have the most stickiness when it comes to being able to facilitate payment of service and payment for goods received on offline channels, that is your Kirana stores here, and on online channels, because that's where the margins are, because they get paid from the various merchants that they are working with, and the online players that they're working with.
So the question is, does the game change from P2P to P2M?
I think it already has, because especially when you have the introduction of a player like WhatsApp that is out there and has the kind of reach. See, we were talking about this with regard to the payments banks, Ayush, and the fact that the telecom companies have such a huge advantage because of the kind of infrastructure that they have on the ground.
And a captive audience that they have out there as well.
Exactly, and that's essentially what I think will play out with.
Fair enough, but I think it's been interesting. There's so many food stalls here in Shivaji Park, a lot of childhood memories as well. Great Frankies over here. There's a family here as well. Should we have one quick last chat with them? Hi guys, we're live on Bloomberg Quint. Okay, we're doing a show. Okay, which is essentially on payments. So you guys are having Frankies. We're getting hungry looking at you guys having them as well. Nice. So we wanted to find out whether, so you guys are from Mumbai?
Yes.
Do you guys use all of, there are three names I'll bring up. Paytm, WhatsApp payments, and Google Pay. Do you use any of these?
Paytm we do.
Both of you all use Paytm?
Yeah, no.
So, I mean, if I was to tell you that now WhatsApp's come out and even Google's come out with their payment solution and you don't have to carry cash as much, would you think it makes sense to be using them in today's scenario?
Yeah, why not?
And forget cash?
No, cash is necessary, bro.
Cash is necessary.
Cash के बिना रैश नहीं है.
Cash is bigger rest day, okay.
So, but tell me something. You guys use WhatsApp a lot, I'm sure, right? This is the kind of perspective that I want. One of the people that we spoke to earlier essentially said that it would be easier to transact on the same applications that you're using so much. Do you think that is the case?
Yeah, because we've got a hang of it. Maybe that's the only reason why people feel that. But if we use something new, that's also, it's, most welcome to try something new also.
Interesting. Okay, we'll let them enjoy the Frankie. Give me a high five. See you. Bye. Take care, guys. But interesting, right? I was a nice, sweet little family out there to get their perspective. I know we can go on talking to lots of people, but it's, well, in the limited time that we have, those were the points we wanted to make.
Absolutely.
We're not saying any solution is better. They're all great in their own way, but it depends on what you want. In fact, in the comment section below, tell us if you want any of them. If you don't, be careful. If you want any of them, if you don't want any of them, or if you think, well, one of them is better for your use case.
Or if you have questions, we'll try and get them answered for you.
Absolutely. And for now, Alex is going to send me money via WhatsApp or Paytm or Google Pay, one of the three, and buy me a Frankie.
I want some chai. Mine is cheaper.
Done deal.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks
9 to 5 job, अरे 5 to 9 job, भाग दौड़ all the time job. The roaming वाला job, the deadline वाला job, or are you living in the market वाला job?
Life is full of options. Choose a job and earn on your own terms. Choose to become an LIC agent. It's more than a job. It's career insurance. Be your own boss. Be an LIC agent. Ab life set hai.
Sir, please believe me, I am in this business for the last 12 years. Okay, I'll wait for your call. Thank you so much.
They still don't know you after all these years?
क्या करें? पहचान ही नहीं है.
Simple solution hai. List on the stock exchange. With listing comes recognition. Investors get interested in you. And funding happens.
Come on, yaar. I'm not big enough to list. Chal, let's leave.
There's a stock exchange exclusively for your kind of company. NSE Merge.